All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How's everybody doing this morning? Welcome to the Cryptosphere. This is Cryptogenic coming at you. Today is Friday, May 19th at 10 a.m. Here in Northern California. We're taking a look at these crypto charts this morning. And we're going to start with XRP because the question that I want to approach in this video today is, what's getting ready to happen with XRP? Is it going to break down or is it going to break out? Where did my chat go? There it is. Is XRP going to break down or break out? That's what we're working on today. And so to that end, we're going to jump into these charts. That's interesting. All right, I don't know why it's doing this. Here's what I'll do. Cool. All right, if you're with me, drop me a line. Leave me a comment so I know you're there. If you're with me, leave me a comment so I know you're there. This is fine. All right, this is my XRP dashboard. We're going to start with the weekly chart here. Let's have a look-see, shall we? What we can see on this XRP dashboard on the weekly is that we're simply bound within this range here. And we got a nice green, almost an engulfing bullish candle here on the weekly. It's not quite engulfing because it doesn't swallow up the previous wick, but it definitely swallows up the body of the previous candle, which is really cool. We got a nice bounce in the RSI as well, which could indicate if the RSI comes up to the top of this line and gets rejected, then XRP should at least come up to the top of this line. Oops, sorry, hold on one second. You there?
Thank you.
Okay, I'll do it right now. Sorry, gotta help out. So yeah, if XRP, if the RSI makes it to the top of this line here, then hey, Steven, good to see you, brother. How are things in the UK? Thanks for joining me this morning. Yeah, so if we get on the weekly, if we get XRP, now this is a weekly chart, so it could take the next couple of weekly candles, 2 to 3 weekly candles. If the RSI makes its way up here to the top, then the price will make its way up here to the top, and then it'll either break through this line of resistance, and this line of resistance will become support, or if the RSI breaks down, then the price should break down too on the weekly chart. Remember that what you see on the weekly chart typically takes weeks to play out. What you see on the daily chart typically takes days to play out. What you see on the 4-hour chart takes 4-hour segments to play out. What you see on the hourly chart takes hours to play out. So that's why we look at the different time frames, because they give us a sense of what's coming within those time frames. Now, looking at this daily chart, I see a couple of things that are actually quite significant. All right. First thing I see is that we broke bullish out of this trend here. And the second thing I see is that we have a corresponding bullish break in the RSI. Now, if we were to chart the meaning of this move, this could give us a 22% pop. That could take us all the way up to 53 cents. An intermediate target would be about 13%. So my targets for this break would be 48 cents and 53 cents. All right. Now, however, yeah, okay, so the bullish break. Okay, so you see these wicks, these long wicks on top. All right. So notice here you had a longer wick on the bottom, almost no wick on top. So what the long wick on the bottom means is that there's buying pressure. You see down here, all of these candles have wicks except this one. So the bears are trying to push it down, but there's buying pressure that's pushing it all the way back up. The bears are trying to push it down, buying pressure, pushing it all the way back down, all the way back up. Buying pressure, a little bit of buying pressure, but now we got selling pressure, right? Here we have selling pressure. When buying pressure, well, now the wicks are higher on the upside, which means there's selling pressure, selling pressure, selling pressure. So you can see the bulls are trying to push it towards this target, but the bears keep pushing it down and pushing it down and pushing it down and pushing it down. So the selling pressure is intensifying, okay, which means that it's hitting resistance. If we go to the 4-hour chart, what can the 4-hour chart tell us? I'm going to hide this indicator for now. We'll talk about it in just a second. What the 4-hour chart can show us, fix this here, is so notice this uptrend here where we're making higher highs in the price. So we made a higher high from here to here, a simultaneous lower high. That's called bearish divergence. We made another higher high, but we got a diminished return. Okay. In other words, if you look at the slope from this high to this high, it's more severe than the slope from this high. You see it's flattening out. When you start getting diminishing returns, that's telling you that it's hitting resistance, and we might get another touch of this line here, but it's going to be really, really hard for the bulls to push it above this level now that we're seeing diminishing returns. In addition, if we look at the candle pattern here, let's make this a straight line, and let's analyze the candle pattern. It's an ascending narrowing wedge, and we've got bearish divergence in the RSI, which means we've continued to make lower lows while the price continues to make higher lows. Matter of fact, something like that. So if we look at the if we do a trend analysis here, what we're seeing is that we're in a downtrend in the RSI while we're in a simultaneous uptrend in the price. That's called bearish divergence. And that bearish divergence indicates that the momentum is all but spent on this move. So it indicates to me that there's probably going to be a temporary breakdown, and that it's going to be very hard to reach very many higher highs on this price chart. All right. If we take it a step further and check out the 1-hour chart, the bearish divergence is even more pronounced. Okay, so we could see that the market topped out in the RSI yesterday. Is today the 18th or the 19th? 2 days ago, day before yesterday, at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the market topped out, made a much lower high in the RSI and a substantially higher high in the price, which is strong bearish divergence. And then we made a diminishing return here. The only thing I'm seeing in the RSI here that is potentially bullish is that the lows are flat. So if you got flat lows, that's a form of bullish divergence. It's not as strong as the bearish divergence we're seeing, but it's there. So if you look at it this way, you've got a channel. We know that channels are corrective rather than impulsive. Glad to hear Steve is good. Oh, Steve, you're saying I can call you Steve. I appreciate that. So when I start to see these diminishing returns, basically what it indicates to me is that the arc of this move There's kind of a logarithmic arc to this move, right? And this is kind of how I would trace it. And so it would lead me to expect a breakdown within this arc. So we might retouch this line over here. We've got space to retouch this line. And then if the diminishing returns continue, at a certain point we break down from this line. And once we break down from this line, let's say we break down over here. This is completely arbitrary. We could break down anywhere here, or even exceed this, of course. But if we were to break down at that point, my target would be basically 44 cents on this hourly chart. Now, of course, I'd be watching the RSI in conjunction with the RSI. Here's a bullish possibility. The bullish possibility is that the RSI starts making its way down. Why is that bullish? If the RSI makes its way down while the price moves sideways, that would be hidden bullish divergence. So if the price moves sideways within this area and the RSI makes its way down, then the RSI is basically refreshing itself. Now the RSI has reset and it can take off again. And if the RSI takes off, the price can take off again as well. So there's always a bullish and a bearish scenario. But in order to invalidate the bullish scenario the bearish scenario that I see here, in order to invalidate the bearish scenario that I'm seeing, I would have to start seeing hidden bullish divergence in the RSI. In other words, the RSI would have to break beneath this line while the price remains above this line. So if the RSI breaks down and the price breaks down, then that's just bearish. That's not hidden bearish divergence. But if the RSI breaks down and the price remains in this region, that would be hidden bullish divergence, excuse me, and that would indicate that we could see a continuation of this bullish move up. Does that make sense? All right. What are you seeing over there in the UK, Steve? Going back to the 4-hour chart here, seeing that we're in this ascending narrowing wedge. In a sense, it's an ascending narrowing wedge. In a sense, depending on how you draw it, it could be seen as a channel. But I drew the channel on the 1 hour. I'm going to draw the ascending narrowing wedge on the 4 hour. Okay. And then I'm going to chart the break. And let's say if we broke here, that would take us down to about 43 cents. So I have this support zone between 42 and 43 cents. Let's go. Let's go. Now, once again, I'm watching the RSI here. If the RSI breaks up and the price breaks up with it, that's possible. We can get one more pump. Or if the RSI breaks down and the price just moves sideways through here, the fact that we broke on the downside is not meaningful unless the price follows the RSI. If the RSI makes its way down and the price just moves sideways, that's hidden bullish divergence. And once the RSI bottoms out, the price can then take off from there. So that's the bullish move. I think a bearish break is more likely. I think a revisitation of this 42 to 43 cents range is more likely. And so that's what I'm counting on. Let's jump over to Bitcoin and let's see what we see on this Bitcoin chart. I'm going to start with the weekly chart here. And on the weekly, we've got this clear agreement. Actually, we've got a divergence on the macro here. This is a slightly higher low. I'm going to mark it as red. I like to mark divergences in red if they're bearish and in green if they're bullish. So appreciate it, Steve. All right, let's see. So this divergence here, you've got a slightly higher high and a substantially lower high. That is hidden bearish divergence. So we've got a macro hidden bearish divergence here that needs to be invalidated before we can see a real breakout. And I have two levels of support here on the weekly chart for an impending breakdown, which I believe is imminent. And we break down. I'll show you my daily chart actually for the breakdown. What I've been expecting on the daily is a move back to touch this line. If we break bearish beneath this trend here, that's a 12% drop. So that could take us well beneath this line of support. So that's a move to about 23,000. But of course, the line would be the first level of support around 24,000 if we were to break down there. Okay, you see we've already got the breakdown in the RSI from this trend. Now we're just waiting for the impending breakdown in the price. In actuality, not quite. If we drew the line here, the way we drew it in the RSI, we could see we broke down there, but then if we draw the line here, the way we drew it in the price, let's do it the same way we did it in the price. You could see the difference in this move in the price and in the RSI. So let's just zoom in here to the RSI to take a closer look. Got a meeting. I've actually got a corporate client that I'm meeting with in a few minutes, or about 11 o'clock, but I got to get ready for that meeting pretty soon. I do TA on futures charts. They're into commodities. And so, okay, so you see here, the slope of this is a slightly lower low. But if we go back to the price, where are we? Sorry. If we go back to the price, oh, I see what I did. I was trying to figure out why it seems more broadening. Okay, yeah, so that would be broadening. If I drew it like this in the price, and that's actually probably more correct. That's probably more correct. Probably it's better to see this as a descending, broadening wedge. Just like in the RSI, it's descending and broadening. The descent is more aggressive in the price than it is in the RSI. But this is going to be a level of support. First the line, and then if it breaks beneath the line, these two levels of support are going to be in place. We may get wicks down to these two levels, okay? But I started preaching this when we were up here. I started preaching a breakdown to 24,000 when everybody said we were going to 32, 33. I just couldn't see it because I started to see the bearish divergence in the RSI already on the daily. And so that, when I saw from this high to this high was flat, but from this high to this high is a higher high, it just became clear to me, not to mention the RSI topped out way over here in January. But on the daily, we've continued to rise. And then when we got this bounce here in the price and made a higher high, but a substantially lower low in the RSI, it was pretty clear to me that the energy was leaving the wine and that the move up is just simply not sustainable. Okay. All right. So that's Bitcoin. So I'm thinking if I jump down to the 4-hour chart, the question is, how soon are we going to see the breakdown? I like the smart money concepts, indicator, because it shows me the red regions are called premium regions. The green are called discount. My buddy Andy turned me on to this concept. He's in my Patreon group, and tremendous guy and a tremendous trader as well. And so he showed me this. His is a little bit different, but it functions in a similar way. And so this area here is an equilibrium level, and then this red level here is a premium level. So the real question for Bitcoin is, are we going to get one more pump into the premium level, maybe even come up and touch this line before we break down? And I actually thought we were, so much so that I exited a trade, probably prematurely, a few days ago. But now we're making a lower high, and we've got flat highs here, basically flat highs in the RSI. And so what that says to me, well, slightly lower high as well in the RSI. Let's zoom into the 1-hour chart to see what the 1-hour chart can tell us. Okay, we got this. Is this a doji or a spinning top? I think that's a spinning top. It's definitely a spinning top. It's not a doji. The body's too big for it to be a doji. All right. It just indicates indecision in the market. And we're just in this really tight range. I mean, actually, when you look at this range, the market doesn't know what it wants to do. And we've got, ever since we broke into the range here at about noon today, no, at midnight last night, we broke into this range at the midnight hour last night, California time. And we have not closed a candle outside of this range since midnight. Which is interesting, right? So the break of this range, the reason for these long wicks, basically what happens is when traders see a range like this, they start trading the range. Right? They start trading the range. So from 26,946 to 26,775, you got almost $200. So basically, if you're trading, let's say, one Bitcoin, you short one Bitcoin here, you take profit. You made $200. You long it, you take profit. You made $200. You short it, you take profit. You made $200. You long it, you take profit. You made $200. Then you short it. People might even be playing a tighter range, actually, if you come up to some of these candle bodies. You find that you actually hit more. You hit more targets. Right? You short it here, you take profit. You long it, you take profit. You short it, you take profit. You long it, you take profit. You short it, you take profit. You long it, you take profit. What these longer wicks are for are to liquidate or stop out the range traders here. All right. So this wick probably liquidated a whole bunch of short positions. This one liquidated a whole bunch of long positions. And then we came right back in the range. So until we can close a candle outside of the range, really close a couple candles outside of the range, there's kind of no clear trajectory. Look, even the RSI is just moving sideways. Gives us zero information, which is a scary place to be. One of my rules is never trade the middle. The RSI is in the middle, you don't trade the middle. The price is in the middle of a range, you don't trade the middle. Yeah, so if we drill down into the 15-minute chart, we can see that the range is probably better understood like this. But you had these two wicks that just liquidated everybody, because what you would do is you basically would set, like at this top, that's where you'd set your stop loss. And probably this bottom over here, or maybe this one. Set your stop loss there and there, and then you trade the range all day. Well, if you did that, you're fine until these two wicks. Notice these are the only two wicks that exceeded those lines. So that indicates to me that that's almost certainly what happened, is stopping out the range traders. All right, go back to the 1 hour chart here so I don't mess up my dashboard. Steve, since you're with me, what do you want to see? Name a chart, any chart. I'll chart anything you want. We got about 10 minutes left. You want to see T-Fuel? You want to see Solana? You want to see Theta token? What you want to see, bro? Anything you want, I got you. And if there's anyone else watching, drop me a line on a chart. Interesting. Is Solana getting ready to break down? Huh. Oh. The daily possibility. Okay, look at this. Look at here, look at here, look at here. Theta, XLM. All right. Seeker66, good to see you, sir. All right, I'm going to do both those charts, and then we're going to be out. Let's start with Theta, and then we'll go to XLM. Is that okay? All right, this is my 4-hour chart for Theta, my 4-hour chart. Let's start. Is this a daily chart? This should be a weekly chart. All right. Start with my weekly Theta chart here, and all I see on the weekly, actually, I did make this a daily because I'm looking at, on this chart, I'm simply looking at the Elliott wave structure. And what I see for the Elliott wave structure is we completed an ABC correction and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ABC. So now we're simply waiting to see what the next impulsive move is going to be on the Theta chart. If we go to the 3-day chart, the 3-day chart shows us that we're in this descending narrowing wedge, which tends to be a bullish pattern. Okay, and so if we break down to the bottom of that wedge again or slightly beneath it, eventually when Bitcoin bottoms out, Theta will bottom out. And when theta bottoms out, whenever theta bottoms out and bounces, on the 3-day chart, we're showing this trend can catapult us all the way up to $1.81. Okay, so that's bullish. Coming over here to the 4-hour chart, here's what I'm seeing. We are hitting resistance here at this line. And it's going to be hard to break above it. It's going to be hard to break above it. Now, this all depends on Bitcoin. But if Bitcoin breaks down, you're going to expect to see theta break down too. If Bitcoin stops at, say, 27,000, theta can stop there. But if Bitcoin drops down deeper, theta can break down. So these are two levels of support in actuality. Yeah, you can get something like this. The Elliott structure of this will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we could get something like that. And if we did, then we would expect to see an A, a B, and a C. Or it could even be more like A, B, C, something like that, right? Well, it won't extend that far. But we could definitely see a breakout in theta. It's just, the only question is going to be, how far will BTC fall? The ABC would be something like this. It could break above here, but it would not exceed 0. Then we would have to create a whole new structure here and see how that plays out. So yeah, what's going to happen with theta depends on what's going to happen with BTC. But what I'm saying is we're really hitting resistance already. Now, if we break above this resistance, let's say all of a sudden Bitcoin breaks out, theta could break out, retest this line, and then head towards $1. But theta could also break down to 81 cents. And if we break down beneath this level here, that could take us down another 7% and take us all the way down to about 75 cents. So, you know, we're getting dangerously close to, you know, 2020, 21 levels. Well, yeah, Mr. Thay Surfer 36. Yes, we think of it in terms of the macro, but we also need to consider it depends on what your goal is. I mean, if your goal is just to buy it and hold it long term, then yeah, only think of it in terms of the macro. But if you're looking for a buy-in level, then you need to think about the short term as well, right? Because if there's a chance of buying it at 75 cents, that's a little better than buying it at 91 cents. And so these short-term considerations are just as important as well. All right, I'm going to look at XLM, and then I'm going to have to take off and meet with my corporate client. XLM, that didn't happen. Let's just start over with XLM. Okay, let's make this a weekly chart. Go into logarithmic scale. Let's add the RSI. Let's see some volume. Let's doctor this a little bit. I like my RSI to be yellow, and I don't need the moving average. What are we seeing? 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 right. Looks like we had a little bit of a breakout here. It's fine. Somewhat irrelevant at the moment. It's more relevant. It's just kind of seeing, basically what we're seeing is diminishing returns of the bear market or of the breakdown. And so all right. My immediate concern is we made a substantially higher high here. And a lower low here. Lower high, excuse me. Higher high, lower high. What kind of divergence is that? Hidden bearish divergence. It's not good. It's not good to see hidden bearish divergence on the macro chart at the end of a bull run. And if we go to Bitcoin and go to the weekly chart for Bitcoin, well, we're seeing macro hidden bearish divergence as well. Where does it go back to? November of 2021. XLM chart, where does it go back to? October of 2022. It's just far more recent. November of 2021. What was happening in November of 2021? Nope, this is November of 2021. November 2021 on the Bitcoin chart and the XRP chart. October of 2022. So what was happening in October of 2022? So you see how this is not a divergence here. It's just bullish. You're just making a higher high. Okay, let's drill into XLM just for a few minutes and see what we can find. So that's my weekly chart. Let's make sure these aren't synced. Good, no sync. Good. Good. All right, let's go here. Let's make this a daily chart. Let's delete everything. And then let's open it up and see if we can drill down into this a little bit and see what's happening with XLM. XLM is turning out to be somewhat of a disappointing project. Let's see. All right. Okay. Okay, so you've got an ascending broadening wedge in the price. And once again, I'm seeing major bearish divergence in the RSI. Classic bearish divergence. Let's take from this high to this high. And then from this high, the corresponding high in the price, this corresponding high in the price. Classic bearish divergence on the weekly. However, it is bottoming out on the daily, and it's bounced. And we are making higher lows slightly in the RSI and higher lows in the price. So at least we should have an uptrend right now for the next multiple days. See volume is weak across the board, big down move incoming. I agree. Hinman emails, FOMO almost finished. BTC should dump big after the circle jerk fest in Miami is over. Dragging alts down. I agree, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. I pretty much agree. Okay, let's take a look at the 4-hour chart now. And Let's see if we can divine anything different. Oops. By the way, I am helping my wife raise $50,000 for our orphanage in Indonesia, which is in need of a brand new facility that we're building. We're already in the process of building. We're sending them money every month for it. So what I'm doing is between now and August, I'm giving all of my Patreon income to that project. So if you join my Patreon, you are an immediate participant in that project to help provide a better life for children in Indonesia. So check out my Patreon. It's very cheap right now. The basic level's $9 and the premium level is $19. And I'm there pretty much every day. So check it out. All right. This don't look too good, guys, on the 4 hour. Okay, so first of all, we are making higher lows in the RSI, but lower lows in the price, so that's bullish. That's classic bullish divergence. We're flat in the RSI. On top, the highs are flat. And we're making lower lows in the price. So that is bearish. What it looks like to me is if we forget about divergences, the RSI is trying to move up. So let's say the RSI breaks above this line and makes its way up to the top. Meanwhile, the price makes its way up to the top. If the RSI breaks out and the price does not break above this line of resistance, and even if it does, but it doesn't make a higher high, best we could see is something like that. Because once the RSI gets to the overbought position, it's basically wound up for the bears to take control again. You've just kind of allowed it to refresh. So the fact that the price is at the bottom of this move, but the RSI is nearing the top, it means that the bears are building momentum to crash it again. And however high that's going to be, I think it's going to be really hard to get above this line of resistance. But in order for XLM to make a real move, it's got to break. It's got to make a higher high here. It's got to make a higher high. And it's not in any place. Looking at where the RSI is, it's not set up for a higher high. I think what's probably more likely is a further breakdown. If we chart that, depending on where we break down from this line. This could take us down to 80 cents or even below. I mean, if this, for instance, if we come up and test this line and then come down here, we don't break down till here, that would move the measured objective. And that could break us down further. So I'll be watching this to see what we get. But in the meantime, thanks so much for joining me today. I wish I had time to look at more charts. I'm going to try to do a lot more live streaming in the days to come. It's a quick, easy way for me to give you content, which I love doing. I drive 4 hours a day. My daughter goes to school an hour away from here. So I drive her to school, and then I drive either to my office or back home. Both are an hour away. And then I drive back to pick her up at 3 in the afternoon, and then I drive back home. So I'm on the road 4 hours a day, and I got a lot going on. And so, but I am in my Patreon very, very consistently. And so I'd encourage you to check it out at patreon.com. Matter of fact, I'm going to throw it in the chat here. And remember, I'm giving all of my Patreon income to my wife's project in Indonesia. I'll show you some clips from that in a future live stream and give you some more information about that so that you can kind of connect with what we're doing there with that project. But we've been supporting this orphanage in Indonesia since 2007, and we've been working in Indonesia since 2002, and we started to really do a lot of humanitarian work there after the tsunami, which hit December 26, 2004. So we got a lot going on there. Blessings to each and every one of you. May the joy of the Lord be your strength. May his favor be your shield. Everything that I produce, everything I create, everything that I present is designed to enable you to sleep in peace every night, wake in joy every morning, and walk in love every day. But please remember that this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. These are my opinions only, so make your own adult decisions. Hopefully I can give you some data that can help you and encourage you and empower you. But with all that being said, thanks so much again. This is Cryptogenic signing out.